what happens when you increase. So basically what happens is that has Mahashaji joined? Okay, anyway. So basically what happens is that there are, have you heard of three body recombination reactions? When we were talking about elementary reactions, I also mentioned three body recombination. Does anyone remember that? The term looks familiar or you are hearing it for the first time?
Sir, free body or FRE?
Three, not free. Three body, or if you look at, you want me to go to that slide or see if you look at, okay, let me go to those reactions so that, okay, if you look at these reactions, okay, so generally we have two molecules or two species colliding and forming something, but there also be some okay, let me look at detailed reaction where we have defined different types of, yes, this one. So okay, that this example does not have that, but there are certain reactions which will be combination of three body. Let me see if I have any such example. Okay, like this. Okay, so what happens? Two radicals combine with any third body or let us say whole, and they form a stable atom, stable molecule. Okay, so this is what type of reaction? Chain propagating or chain terminating? Yeah, this is third body.
Sir, it is terminating.
Terminating. Okay, so if you remember when we talked about bimolecular collision, okay, so here now we need to consider three body collision. So when will be more probable to have three body when you have a large number of atoms or a small number of atoms.
A large number of atoms.
Large.
If there are large number, there is a higher chances, higher probability, right? See, we generally talk about probability. That what is the probability that two atoms will hit, and that probability will be between 0 and 1. It could be low, it could be high, but it will vary between 0 and 1. Okay. So at higher pressures, do you think that number of molecules will be higher? Number of molecules per unit volume will be higher or lower?
It
Sir,
will be
higher.
higher.
Okay, so we'll have higher molecular density. Molecules per unit volume will be higher. The probability that they will collide will be higher, and the probability that they will lead to this type of reaction will be higher. Okay, because of that, this decreases. Flame speed decreases with pressure. Is this clear? Yes or no? You want me to repeat it or is it clear?
Sir, it is clear.
Okay, fine. So this was about effect of pressure. Now moving on. So up to here we have discussed, right? We'll just summarize. So we talked about equivalence ratio, how SL, this was a homework. So how many of you have looked into this? What is the real reason or why the peak temperature is not at the equivalent stoichiometric mixture but slightly richer mixture? What is the reason? Can anyone explain? Yes? Okay, you do some search and you mail it to me. Okay, maybe I will wait for your mails. When you all have mail, then I will discuss in the class. Okay, I will give some marks for that. So do some search. You can easily get some numbers or whatever the reason. Try to think of it and come up with an explanation. Then I will finally explain what is going on. Okay, so this is about equivalence ratio temperature. We have seen that if you increase the initial temperature, SL will increase. Just now we discussed about pressure. And inert gas, basically, it has lower specific heat than nitrogen, so SL becomes higher. Okay, so all this we have already discussed. Now let us take one example. Before we move on to turbulent flames, one simple example I wanted to just highlight what are the issues involved. Okay, so when we talked about flame speed measurement, right? This is one method that we discussed. That if you have a Bunsen burner, you just take image like this, or there are Schlieren images. You can take image of the flame, and you say that uniform velocity U is coming. U sin theta will give you SL. Is this correct?
Yes, sir.
Anything it looks like suspicious, or any assumption which looks no may or may not be correct? So let me say I am assuming that your velocity is u uniform throughout this cross section. Is it a good assumption? Can anyone see any problem with that? Or it's okay? U should be uniform. What do you feel?
सर आगे बढ़ेगा यू शायद.
No, not about this direction. I am talking about this. Okay, let me draw. So basically, you have a tube, and on top of tube you have a flame, right? This is the flow configuration. Now the question is, what I am assuming here is that U is uniform along the cross section of this tube. Is it a valid assumption or not? That's my question.
Sir, good assumption as length is small. Difference.
Okay, it is approximation, but what would be the actual velocity? Will there be any velocity profile, or it will be some random profile? Okay, let me ask you this. So fluid mechanics course you all have taken,
Parabolic.
right? Yes. Hagen-Poiseuille flow inside a tube. Okay, you might have you're remembered in this way. So if you have a tube, and let me say that it is a fully developed flow. So what profile it will have?
Parabolic.
Parabolic. So it should look like something like this, right? Same way, inside this tube, the velocity profile will be parabolic. So the question that whether U will be uniform is not is a valid question, right? Now what to do? We have assumed that U is uniform, and based on that we have calculated. Now we know that U is not uniform. So how can we calculate SL now? Can we calculate?
Sir,
Sir,
I
if
have a
the
doubt.
tube diameter is small, then we can assume U is uniform.
If it is wide,
U will be zero near the wall.
Sir,
Yes, tell me.
it is not a physical wall. The fluid is allowed to pass. So it will not be like the Hagen-Poiseuille flow.
Why?
Sir,
Okay, I'm
because
not talking about the flame. I'm talking about the tube. The fuel is coming from a tube, right? So till the exit of the tube, it will have a velocity profile. After that, it will also develop. But let us just focus on this. So at the exit, I will have some velocity profile that has to be parabolic, right? This is your basic fluid mechanics. Forget about combustion. You agree or not?
yes, sir.
Any tube, whether it is small diameter, large diameter, if you have a laminar flow, fully developed velocity profile, it has to be parabolic. Okay, it see the it is approximately, if you say it is uniform and all, that works, that is approximately okay, but strictly speaking, it is not uniform. So you should know what is the difference and how to account for that. Now, I know that, let us go with the fact that it is not uniform. So now can you calculate SL or you cannot calculate? It is possible or not possible? Okay, what do I know? When I have a Bunsen burner like this, I know at least what is the rate of fuel supply. I know that 10 grams per second or something like that, I am supplying fuel. Okay, I will also know what is the density of the fuel. So, can I calculate the average velocity of that fuel? As if you assume that the fuel is having a uniform velocity, can I calculate what is the average velocity of fuel that is coming out?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes, sir. Okay. And in Hagen-Poiseuille flow, when you talk about flow in a tube, you know that maximum will be how much of the average?
Double.
Double. So, and what else you know? It is a parabolic profile. So, can I say that
Symmetric.
velocity profile varies like this? V naught is what? Vr is the radial velocity at radius r. I should write it small r. Okay. Vr is equal to V naught into 1 minus r square by r square. So it will be at the center, it will be V naught. So V naught is the maximum velocity. And what is the velocity at the wall? Let us say r is equal to small r is equal to big R, capital R. So what is the velocity then?
It is 0.
0. So it satisfies your parabolic velocity profile, right? This equation. Everyone is clear about this?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is, let us say this is given to us and we know that SL is, this corresponds to roughly, I think, for methane. Okay, now we notice for 80. This is also given. So the question is whether you can find the SL and based on that, can you find how the flame looks like? Okay, here what I have assumed that the flame is having a straight, this is a straight line. So let us examine it more closely. Let us probe this, whether it is will be a straight line or not. Okay. So this is given to us. So what you can do is, we also know that SL will be equal to U sin theta. So if you look at this side, so let us say that at each different point, let me delete it, make it clear. Okay, now let us say at each point the velocity is different. Okay, that was the assumption that U is uniform. Let us say even if it is not uniform. So what will happen? Let us say it is U1 here, U2 here. But at each point, since I am assuming the flame to be stationary, flame is not moving. So at each point, SL will be equal to U1 sin theta 1, U1 sin theta 2. Do you agree with that? SL has to match this component of velocity. That is what is required. U is uniform is not necessary, but SL should be matching this component. U sin theta for that local U sin theta. That is required.
Sir, theta will be constant, no? Means
Theta will not be constant. That's what I'm trying to highlight in this example.
सेंटर की तरफ कम होते जाएगा थीटा.
Yes, yes, yes. In next two slides, we'll see how theta will vary. But the important thing here is that SL will match whatever U or theta is there. SL will try to match. Then only the flame will be stationary. Otherwise, the flame will move up or down. Okay, so what can we do is we can write SL in form of sin theta. U we know, U expression of U I'll get from here. This is U sin theta. Now I can write sin theta will be equal to SL divided by this. This is all right?
Yes, sir.
So let us make an Excel, take an Excel file let us calculate sin theta for different values for r by r. Okay, r by r can vary from 0 to 1. So I have taken 0.1 to 0.9. Now what will be sin theta? Sin theta is this much. So if I know r by r, if I know v naught, if I know SL, I can calculate sin theta, right? Only r.
Sir, sin theta is exceeding 1, which is not possible.
Yeah, yes, we'll come to that. Let us. Good question. So for now, let us forget about that point. Up to here, you're okay?
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay. Now I will define theta for all these points. Okay. So what do you see? Theta is constant or it is changing with r, right?
It is changing because of that velocity function.
Yes. So this is how you can plot. So theta is changing with small r, radius of the tube. So initially what we thought that it will look like a straight line. That is approximately okay. You can say that it is uniform and straight line, but actually in real what happens is that theta is increasing as you go out. So theta 1 will be smaller than theta 2, will be smaller than theta 3, and the actual profile will somewhat look like this. Is it clear? Yes, no? People are present or not?
Sir, could you
Yes, sir.
repeat the point?
Yes, sir.
What?
Yes, someone has any question? Please repeat.
Sir, could you repeat the last part?
Okay, so basically what I am saying is using this relation, I calculated theta for sin theta for different r by r, different radius basically. Okay, and from sin theta, if you take a inverse sin inverse theta, you will get theta. Okay, up to here we have calculated. Let us, for a moment, let us forget about this. I will explain this again. So I have theta for different radial positions. That's all. Now that is what I am plotting here. So if you keep on increasing radius, your theta will increase. Is this clear?
Yes. Sir, it
Okay.
is the
Now,
ratio, but
yes, you had doubt in the last slide. Here you have a question.
sir, it is increasing with the ratio. I can't understand why it is increasing with R.
So you can just I'm following this relation. So there is no logic why it increase. This is just coming from this equation. Basically, I will come to the logic also. Basically, this is the velocity profile we have. Okay, we know that at any point, whatever u will be, u sin theta has to be equal to SL. Otherwise, it will not be stationary flame, right? So from this SL, if I substitute u here, I will get this. Then just divide SL by this quantity, you will get sin theta, right? Now what is given? SL is already given to us 40 meters per second. This is 80. Okay, so it becomes basically 1 by 2. And this is the only variable, right? If I want to calculate sin theta, what value do I need to know?
SL by U.
Yeah. So
V.
this I am just making a table and I am just using this value 0.2. If I substitute 0.1, this is the value of sin theta I will get. If I substitute 0.2, I will get this, right? So this will
Yes,
change
sir.
r. So I'm just taking a sine. I know what this is sin theta. So if you take a sine inverse, you will get theta. It is simply coming from calculation. I have not given any logic why theta should vary because the velocity profile is parabolic. For a parabolic velocity profile, theta will vary in this fashion. If suppose you have some other velocity profile, cubic profile or something like that, then theta will have different trend. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So based on that, what we see that theta is increasing with small r, and that is what I'm plotting here. So if you plot theta values, this is what it will look like. Okay. So the flame surface, which we assume to be a straight line, it is not straight, but it will, since theta is increasing, it will be slightly curved. Okay. Up to here, everyone is okay?
Yes, sir.
Sir,
Now,
and uh, at in the previous table we saw for point 0.8 and point 0.9 it was sin theta was greater than 1.
yes,
Then how
I'm
we
coming to
calculate
that.
it?
I'm coming to that. Up to here, you're okay, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now let me ask you. Near the wall, okay, we have not covered the topic, but there's something called quenching. Okay, so near the wall, the flame speed will decrease. In the next topic, I will clarify that. So, there the flame will be, basically it will be sitting on the wall. Okay, near the wall, there are some other interesting things going on that just maybe today we'll try to cover it. Because of that, point 0.8 and point 0.9 will not use the sin theta, we'll say that the flame is anchored on the wall. So as you can see here also, if you look this carefully, what it is showing is that theta is slowly approaching to 90 degree, right? So basically what will happen, this is your flame tube. What it means is that at the end, it will be almost 90 degrees sort of, which is not actually true, but it will approach that value. And again, because of what happens is that near the wall, it gets quenched, it extracts heat. So SL decreases. So this, all this relation what we have talked about, this will not be valid when you approach very near to the wall. This type of very close to the wall, it will not be valid.
So, sir, very close to the wall, what will be the value of theta?
It will be, the flame will be anchored. Okay, just be patient for some more time. In the next chapter, initially in first few slides, I will discuss about it. What happens near the wall? Okay. So for now, just assume that flame is getting anchored. How it gets anchored, that is a interesting topic, but for the next chapter. Okay, we need to understand what is quenching, what role wall plays in quenching, and what sort of velocity profile we can observe. That I need to give you some background, then I will talk about it. Okay? Is it clear? So this is
Yes, sir, it's fine.
this is good that you asked. This is a separate topic itself. So let us delay it till we reach there. Okay, for now what I will do is, we have covered laminar flame. Okay, and we'll just quickly look into turbulent premixed flames, and then we'll move on to next topic when we talk about this wall quenching. Okay, so I think the few slides I presented in the last class. I'll anyway quickly go through them again. So this is what you are looking at, is what, laminar flame or turbulent flame? Or how do you know that this is laminar? Can anyone tell me?
Sir, observing randomness in the flame.
No, this is not random. This is quite smooth and nice uniform profile you are looking at. So this is the characteristics of a laminar flame. If you talk about a turbulent flame, you see a lot of irregular eddies, unsteadiness, right? So see, it is, strictly speaking, it is very difficult to define what is turbulence, but we know that there are some characteristic features. Okay, one of them is it will be not uniform, it will be unsteady, it will have higher transport properties, it will be irregular. So all that properties define turbulence, but visually you can see there is a difference. Okay, for combustion study, what is important for us is that the flame area changes. Okay, let us see what happens. So if you look at these two images, this is for lower turbulence and this is for higher turbulence. These are, I believe, Stellian images for flame surface. Okay, so what I'm trying to highlight here is that once you increase turbulent intensity, the corrugation increases. The surface becomes more corrugated, more warm, or more irregular. Okay. Now, how it will affect flame speed, or what impact will it have on combustion? To understand that, see, this is the simplest example for a 1D flame. That is what I'm using this example for most of the concepts. So this is a simple 1D flame. Fuel is coming from left and burned gases are on the right. So what will happen because of turbulence is that your flame surface area is increased because it is getting corrugated. Remember last class also I discussed this, that if you have let us say you have two tubes, one smaller tube, one larger tube. So larger tube will have larger flame surface area and it will consume more fuel. Right? If let us talk about laminar flame, so SL is same, m dot will be more for this, right? For the same exactly same conditions, flow rate will be higher for a larger diameter tube, right? What happened, students? You people are sleeping or what? Or not connected? One of these
The
things.
second one, m dot will be larger,
Larger. So
turbulent.
what I'm trying to say, no, not turbulent. Let us say this is laminar. Now, why the m dot will be larger? Basically, your flame is able to eat. Let us say it is eating more amount of fuel as compared to this one. What has made that possible is that it has a larger flame surface area, right? This area will be larger than this one. Now, by somehow, what I can do is I can have this diameter, but I have a larger surface area. Let us say I have area like this. Then I can increase the flow rate, right? More fuel it can consume. The same thing is happening here. It has a larger surface area and it is able to consume more fuel. So ST will be larger than SL. Okay. So there are actually sorry about that. So there are lot of interesting processes going on in turbulent flame. It actually turbulence also affects your chemistry, which is a area of ongoing. This is area of research. Okay, but to keep it simple, we'll focus on increase in flame surface area. This is one of the dominant mechanism which helps ST to be larger than SL. So this will be true. Whenever you have a laminar flame, it will have a higher flame speed as compared to, turbulent flame will have a higher flame speed when compared to laminar flame speed.
Sir, larger area is clear, but why it should have a higher S?
Okay, so that's why I'm giving you this example, that there are two tubes. Okay, stop me whenever you have doubt. So two tubes, smaller diameter, larger diameter. So let us say m dot 1, m dot 2. Which will be larger, m dot 1 or m dot 2?
M dot 2.
2. Why? It has larger diameter.
Yes,
Area
sir.
will be larger.
So flame area will be larger or not? It will be a circle. So that circle will be larger than this, right? Do you agree?
Yes, sir.
So what is the function of a flame? Okay, let us forget about reaction, thermodynamics, all that. Let us say that flame is a object which eats fuel. Okay, flame is an animal which is eating fuel. So what if I say that these two tubes have exactly same condition? These are laminar flames. They are at the same temperature, same pressure, and all that. Still, we have different m dot 1 and m dot 2. So the only reason could be what? The flame area is different, right? Flame is an animal which eats fuel. Let us look at it that way. So we have a bigger animal here, right?
Yes, sir.
I'm saying we have a bigger animal here, we have a smaller animal here. So this one is eating more fuel. Now if I take this bigger animal and somehow adjust this in a smaller tube, it will keep on eating the same amount of fuel, right? It will keep eating M2 only. Then I will get a higher flame speed here. Do you agree or not?
Yes, sir. I understood that part.
Sir,
So yes,
sir, for same area,
yes,
isn't it how we define turbulent in the form of Reynolds number? So Reynolds number high means velocity high. Sorry,
sorry.
turbulent and laminar is differentiated by Reynolds.
Correct. Reynolds number differentiates.
So higher Reynolds number means higher velocity. That
Correct.
that's why it should be turbulent. So automatically, in case of turbulent, its velocity should be higher. Na? Why are we comparing means ST greater than SL?
Okay, I am just uh, taking a very simple comparison to explain why ST is. See, you're correct. Velocity will be higher, but the question is why? How the flame is able to eat up more fuel? Right? If your ST is higher, what it means? Simply means that more fuel is coming, more fuel is getting consumed per unit time. Suppose I am burning 1 kilogram of methane in a laminar flame, right? In a turbulent flame, I can burn 3 kilograms of methane, 3 kilograms per second, or 3 grams per second, whatever the case may be. So even for the same tube diameter, let us say if you have the same diameter, if I have higher velocity or higher initial turbulence, whatever the case, somehow I am managed to get, for the same tube diameter, I am managed to get one laminar flame and one turbulent flame. Okay. So what I am trying to explain here is that if you have a turbulent flame, it will have higher capacity to eat fuel. That's all. And that can be attributed to, one reason is flame surface area. Is this clear or not clear?
Yes, sir.
Everyone?
Sir, I have a question.
Yes.
Sir, is Reynolds number defined for flames like these types of solid objects?
So no, not solid object. Reynolds number is defined for any flow you have. So I can define Reynolds number for this flow. Basically, you need to consider what is the fluid velocity. You know the formula. So that same formula is applicable here. Nothing will be different.
Sir, what should be the length scale here?
Length scale should be tube diameter. Generally, when you talk about flow in a pipe, what do you take?
2R.
Yeah, so that's what. So, but one thing you need to be cautious about, when you define Reynolds number, you talk about viscosity, right? So viscosity of fresh mixture will be different from viscosity of burnt gases. Viscosity actually gets very low. If you look at the actual values, viscosity of this burnt gas is quite low as compared to fresh. So Reynolds number actually drops sometimes. So your flow velocity will increase because these gases are expanding, but because of drop in viscosity, Reynolds number may also decrease. So this is something interesting. Maybe I can get some numbers and show it to you. Okay, but for now, this slide I just wanted to explain the effect of surface area. I hope that is clear to everyone. If not, I will repeat it. Is this clear? What I was talking about, flame surface area, that's all.
Yes, sir. It is clear.
Fine. But I will again highlight that that is not the only way in which turbulence affect. Turbulent chemistry interaction is a very intense area of research. So that is also there, but yes, this plays a major role. So let us, to keep things simple, we will focus on this. Okay, these are the experimental results where you can see that ST is turbulent flame speed and SL is Lambert flame speed. So it is 10 times, 20 times higher than that. And this is basically your turbulent intensity divided by flame speed. So it can increase significantly. For example, in a tube, if you are consuming, let us say, 5 grams of methane per second, you can consume 20 times of that, 100 grams of methane per second if you just make it turbulent. That is also possible. Okay, now how do we characterize, or what are the, other than Reynolds number, what Reynolds number is basically for any flow. It could be burned gas, it could be fresh gas, but for a reacting flow or a flame, a more relevant number or more important number is Damkohler number. Okay, Damkohler number we define as ratio of turbulent mixing time scale and chemical reaction time scale. Okay, so turbulent mixing I will define from the length scale and the fluctuating velocity, V dash RMS. Chemical reaction time, how much time it, what is the characteristic time required for chemical reactions. So it will be delta by flame thickness by SL. In what time the flow passes through the flame. This is one way to define it. So if I combine these two, what I will get? Damkohler number is Tm minus Tm by Tch. So I can write in this way, or this is okay. I'm just multiplying these two, that's all. This is how you define your Damkohler number. So let us talk about this ratio, that's it. So this is, one is turbulent time scale or mechanical time scale someone says, and this is chemical time scale. So what could happen? What could be the two extremes? One possible case could be that turbulent time scale is larger. Either this will be large or this will be large, right? So one regime could be fast chemistry regime where your chemical time scale is small. Chemical time is smaller than the flow time, and Damkohler number becomes what? If this is very small, then this will be very larger than unity, right? Another extreme could be that where your mixing is much more intense. Okay, mixing time or turbulent time scale is much smaller than chemical time scale. Then this will become very small. So these are the two regimes, fast chemistry regime and fast mixing regime. For this regime, Damkohler number is very large, and here Damkohler number is very small. Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so with that we end this chapter. Let us see how much time we have. Okay, we have some time, so we can start the next topic.